Good morning, Sec5. So today we're going to change it up a little bit and we're going to do something a little bit more creative before we jump into the Great Gatsby novel. I don't want to start the novel before your week off. So we're going to do a little something more creative. So you guys are going to actually be writing a narrative, so aka a short story told in the first person point of view. So the title of this assignment is A Little Party Never Hurt Nobody, short story, and if you are a Gatsby movie fan, you'll know that quote, and if you're not, then you will familiarize yourself with it by the end of the novel. So I'll read through what the assignment says, and I'll add my 2 cents here and there. So after reading through the different aspects of the 1920s and have previewed the content of The Great Gatsby, you might have guessed that lavish underground parties were a rave back then. In fact, you might be able to make some connections between the events of the 1920s and how we've started 2020 in the past month. Your task is to write a narrative, so a short story told in the first person point of view, detailing the events of an illegal party. Your story should be at least 1 page in length, though you're not limited to that. So the criteria, the things that I'm looking for in your story. The setting must take place in the 1920s as you imagine it. Make use of the 1920s slang you researched. So you guys went through the whole treasure hunt the last 2 classes, and you're actually going to make use of the things that you learned from that. So make use of the 1920s slang you researched, so it should be incorporated in your story. Your main character should be the narrator, so a narrative is told in the first person point of view. Details such as style, so style of clothing, genre of music, type of dancing, types of illegal activity that you've learned about should be incorporated. So this is important. You don't need to incorporate all of them, just the ones that are relevant to your story. If your story is a page in length and you've incorporated all of this, it might be just too much information and not enough plot, okay? So just choose carefully which ones you want to incorporate. Your stories must follow a plot structure. So exposition, you're learning about your main character. Who's the main character? What's the conflict in the story? What's the setting? And then you have to have a rising action. So you learn about the conflict that the main character is facing. Maybe they're facing off with a villain, or maybe the problem is, the society that they're living in, because obviously they're going through in the 1920s, they have prohibition, alcohol consumption is illegal, alcohol sale and consumption. So basically, this is why there are a lot of illegal parties at the time. So a lot of illegal drinking. So you could think about it that way. You could think about the conflict versus somebody directly, or it could be a conflict against the society that you're living in, or you can be creative. Climax, falling action and resolution. So what happens from beginning, middle to end, and there should be a proper beginning, middle, and end of your story. So even if you reach the page length, the minimum, you need to finish off your story. Another thing, use your 5 senses to describe what your main character is experiencing. So 5 senses meaning taste, sounds, touch, sight, hearing. So don't just tell us what your character is seeing, but describe it. Use descriptive language as much as possible in your story. It'll just bring your story to life. And each story should have a proper title. To begin, you may fill out a plot diagram to organize your ideas. I highly suggest that you do. However, I'm not going to ask to see your plot diagram. So if you don't end up doing one, but you have all your ideas from beginning, middle to end in mind, then that's perfectly fine too. So the plot diagram is going to be attached to the assignment in its own document, but I'll show you exactly what that looks like. So here's your plot diagram that you can fill out. So you can fill this out just to organize yourself. Again, I'm not going to grade this, and I'm not going to check that it's done, but it's just a good way to outline our ideas when we're not sure what we're doing, or even when we are sure what we're doing, just to make sure that we hit every single point that we need. I've also attached the rubric for this assignment, so you guys can go through it. So basically, I'm grading your ideas and the content of your story, the organization of your thoughts, so following the structure, the voice, so, again, using descriptive language, transitioning from one idea to the other, hooking your audience, sentence fluency, Word choice. So again, you want to be as descriptive as possible. You want to use as much 1920s slang as you can. And also conventions, so spelling, grammar, punctuation, all that fun stuff. Okay, so if you have any questions, please let me know. This story is actually going to be due on, when do I see you guys back from break?